meeting five-time NTT IndyCar Series champion Scott Dixon. Number 9, PNC Bank Honda for Ganassi Racing.
Hello.
Morning.
Third on the all-time wins list. Great guy.
I don't know about that.
Daughter
Some
climbing
would say
rock
that.
walls and stuff.
Yes.
Tell us what you're looking forward to for this season, defending the championship.
Yeah, trying to. I've never done it before, so that's goal number one. But yeah, I don't know. I think as everybody is probably after a long winter just ready to get going. Luckily, you kind of have the GT program to keep things somewhat busy. But you know, we tested in November. We had the test at Laguna just recently, and then get back in the car tomorrow. So looking forward to that. But yeah, that's the goal, is to try and go for number 6 and defend the championship.
Obviously, since you've never been able to repeat, it's a difficult task anytime, especially now with all the level of competition.
Yeah, you don't see it too often. I'm trying to think. Probably Dario might have been the last one that's been in that situation. So you know, hopefully he can help me a little bit with that scenario. But yeah, you know, it's always tough. I think right now with the competition throughout the field, and you know the small differences between the teams now. It's you know, there are no small teams. There are no you know, very average drivers anymore. So you know, consistency definitely plays a big part. You know, to try and win another championship. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
All right, questions for Scott?
What's big picture? What's on the table for IndyCar this year? It's got the new sponsorship deal. It's got the broadcast seemingly set up. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. What's the momentum for IndyCar right now?
Yeah, I think the momentum's been really good, not just for you know last year or this year, but for the last several years. And I think in you know, almost in a declining sports era, you know, I think visually it's been tough for a lot of other sports. So you know, extremely pumped, one for NTT, but you know, being a partner with us for many years, but also with NBC, I think you know we've seen the effort that they've put in early on in the season when we haven't even got started yet, to the effort they've put in the last few years, you know, on a partial schedule, and the talent they have. I think it's you know, it's an exciting broadcast to listen to. They have really good banter and you know, a lot of interesting insight. I think that sometimes was not covered. So I think with that being more consistent is just going to build, and you know, going to Daytona 24-hour already this year and seeing the push that they had even in IMSA, crossover and the talent they're using from different series, I think is going to be huge. So you know, all we need right now is just probably that they're hoping for is another engine manufacturer. That would help relieve some stress, I think.
The test that you did before Christmas at Barber, Chris Simmons was saying that you and, well, to a certain extent Felix, have made a lot of progress with you know, finding a good road course setup. And I know Dario told me that you'd changed your driving style somewhat on road courses towards the end of last year. Does that suggest that you're going to be even stronger? And should the opposition be pretty scared, considering you're the reigning champion and you're going to be even better?
Well, that would be the perfect scenario, but you know, it worked at Alabama. Kind of worked at Sonoma. I think Sonoma had been a bit of a thorn in our side for many years, and to go from Portland with a direction that we had been running for probably the last 10 or 12 years, you know, obviously with lots of different changes, but the basic setup was pretty similar to moving to something totally different a week later, and rolling off the truck and, you know, being basically in the top 3 all weekend in any session.
Yeah.
Was nice, and it was comfortable to drive, you know, and not as hard to put a lap together, which I think is a big difference. But yeah, it may apply to some places and maybe not to some others. So yeah, I think when you look back at, you know, what we try to do is look back at the holes that we had, and what is normally a very strong base for us on road courses was pretty horrendous, especially in qualifying. So that was a big direction that we needed to chase, and I think we're definitely onto something different, and it seems to be working, you know, at Barber and also at Sonoma at the end of the year. I think we definitely made some breakthroughs. So you know, we'll keep working on it, but every other team's going to try and, you know, fill in the problems they had throughout the season.
Is that a prime demonstration of the fact that a 5-time champion and a 12-time winning team champion?
Well,
yeah. still learn even at this stage of their career together?
Every day you're learning, man. Like even, every day I go to the track, there's something to, different and new, whether it's, basics of the ambient conditions, right? The track, the tires, engine, everything's always changing. So you constantly have to evolve. Last season being a new era kit was, there were always big transitions, and especially, we've been going more downforce to a big drop off was a very different direction from what we've had. So, there's always room for improvement. It's never perfect. It's a constant evolution. So yeah, if you think you know everything, it's probably time to give up.
If race day at Indy had been 75 instead of 95, how much different would the racing have been?
Yeah, I think it would have been better. There's no doubt about that. I think everybody was kind of maxed on, there's not a big shift in downforce levels now, and your max, everybody pretty much runs in race running, no matter what the conditions are. So I think this off season that we've had, and the engineering side or the technical side of IndyCar have done a really good job of trying to understand what we need. Firestone was very prominent, I think, in the positive changes that we had for the speedway coming up this season, plus the aerodynamic side that we should have for the 500 this year. I think should be able to cover a big temperature span.
Well, how much more tunable or was the package with some of the things you tested?
I think the tire is probably going to be team, based on I think, Penske probably didn't really want to see any changes because their cars were extremely good, and we saw that even, when we did the test towards the end of last season. Everybody kind of turns up running what they ran, and they were very strong still. So, I think the tire definitely evens it out a little bit more. I think they'll have to be a little bit careful on the downforce levels, just because I think you get into that stuck situation and you start to get those very desperate overtakes. But I think they can control it with ambient conditions. Yeah, it should be.
Along the lines of what David said, how is your approach on a race weekend, or especially in the month of May, which is 3 race weekends strung together, how has that changed from the point when earlier in your career to now? Do wisdom and experience make you work differently now than you did 15 years ago on a race weekend?
I think it's probably keeping more of an open mind. I think it's very easy to turn up to a weekend and expect this or think this is how the weekend's going to go. You've got to be very careful of that, because if something happens in the first practice, it's going to steer you off into a different direction right away. So for me, I think that your inner confidence definitely gains over the years, but you've got to be careful that you don't get complacency with that too, and just thinking everything's going to be okay. So the hard work never stops, but I think your direction of being positive about it and probably not getting too down over things. But we're all competitive. You're still going to get pretty pissed off throughout the weekend. I don't know. I don't think our process has changed too much. You still, it's a race against time, right? You're still trying to figure out how to be the fastest. I think it's just, for me personally, it's dealing with the down moments a little better than I did when I was younger.
Are you ready to be poster boy for NBC and NTT and all the other new exciting things that are coming into this series?
Well, it won't be just me. There's a lot of talent. So yeah, I think they've spread it really good. I'll do whatever's needed or required to pump the series. I think it is the best racing in the world, and it definitely deserves it. I think NBC are gonna push that to the max, which is good. But quite honestly, I think there's a huge mix of personalities and different talent that I think plays well. So yeah, sure, there's going to be a lot of hard work from different areas, but I think it's going to be paying off for everyone.
You've been on American Ninja, but I mean, are there opportunities with like Jimmy Fallon or any of those?
I don't know. We do talk about some of those things already pre-season, but I think those are kind of pretty fluid. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do American Ninja Warrior again. That was hard. Yeah,
Do you dance?
That was hard work.
Plus, wasn't it like 3-4 in the morning when it was being
No, I actually got off pretty lucky. I think I was in the first, I think they break it into 10s, and I think I was 9 or 10. But yeah, it's funny when you have a preconceived notion of what one of those looks like in real life to actually getting there, and the production level that it's at is insane. The amount of people and moving parts. You know, it's.
But I mean, it was pretty cold when you were doing it.
Yeah, it was cold. It was cold. That's why my shoes were slipping.
Well, welcome to Austin.
Yeah.
A lot of folks first time visiting in this arena. We're proud of it, but what are the challenges? How have you prepared for your visit here to Austin on the track and off?
Yeah, first time to Austin. So I was meant to have come here a few times for a test, but the test got cancelled, and then some Grand Prix, but never made it out here. But excited to be here. I've heard so many great things about Austin and the town and how vibrant it is. But yeah, personally, just really looking forward to getting on the track. You know, it's a track I've watched many times, from IMSA to WEC to Formula One. A little hard to do too much preparation because you kind of want to go in with an open mind. So with our simulator program right at the minute, we haven't had any coda information, which I think the track is kind of stopping a little bit of that stuff. So that's interesting. But we'll see how that goes, down the road. But I think for us, it's really to get in as much testing and understanding of the circuit this week over the 2 days, and then we can really build on that.
You've done, I think you did 2 tests alongside Felix with the old manufacturer aero kits, and now you've done 2 days with alongside it with the current car. Does the current car highlight the differences between your driving styles, or have you discovered that his style is quite similar to your own?
It's been a little early. I'd say, Laguna was such a mismatch of a day. That was really hard to really get anything valuable out of it. I think Alabama was a full day and a good understanding, but still he was, getting up to speed, and the physicality, I think, was kind of an eye-opener to him at that track. I think as we progressed, but even Dario and myself, it took a long time to try and work out the subtle differences. It's never, there might be a couple of standouts right off the bat, but to really understand the differences, I think you need a good half season or more to create some good patterns. I think straight off the bat it's fairly similar, but a lot of times too, when you're in that early stages, you're both trying to emulate good parts of the circuit and the speeds.
But can you trust his feedback pretty well?
Yeah, I think he's been very good on feedback. Even he did the GT test too at Daytona earlier in the year, and I think he's definitely got great car control. The thing with Felix that's a little bit different is that yes, he's a rookie to IndyCar, but he's driven so many different things. As far as sports cars, GT3, crazy tracks, to a little bit of rally, to Formula E. So it's really interesting to see or even hear his perspective on a lot of different things, even simple stuff like pit lane cruise, or things that they've learned from different series. So it's kind of interesting to hear those small subtle things that may make a difference.
Does he have the potential to be this year's Wickens?
Absolutely, yeah. I think with Robin, I don't know why, it was maybe a little more undercover, and I don't know why that is. He's been very good in many formulas and throughout his career. But yeah, I think Felix has an opportunity for sure to do the same thing.
Your Indy 500 win was fairly early in your career, 08, been 11 years since. Does it feel like yesterday, or does it feel longer than 11 years? And at this point of your career, would it be even more significant for you to win a second than possibly the first?
I think any 500 victory is significant. It does feel like a long time. I think like championships, you kind of dwell on the close misses that you had, I think, which are frustrating. But I don't know. Firstly, I feel it was a huge achievement to get one. But yes, trying to get the second is definitely the focus for right now. But yeah, it's a life-changing moment, to be on a short list, less than 70 people in the world that have achieved it. It feels damn good.
Did one thing that helped when you won in 08 was that was the first year where the whole gang was back together?
Yeah, it's hard, I think each year at Indy, Indy's kind of different out of the outside of all the other races. You get so much time on track, and you can kind of see traits, I think, early on from the first few days of maybe who's a little bit stronger. It's just trying to hold on to that, but
But everybody
short
was-
answer to that, I think the competition at Indy was always really tough.
With Sebastian Bourdais was in here earlier, and even though he's on a multi-car team, he's had a rotation of teammates, and he mentioned that he kind of feels like he's on an island sometimes. You're going into another season with another teammate, a little bit of a rotation there, so does this kind of feel similar in terms of, do you feel like you're on an island a little bit as well?
Yeah, it's been a little bit like that. You kind of, you're on your, you're in a team, right? But you're still racing your teammate as another competitor. You work together a little bit more. So that, there's different drivers throughout your career that you kind of maybe relate to a little bit more as far as trying to, find speed. Dan was like that for ovals for me, Dario for all the different disciplines. So you kind of pick here and there. It is nice to have kind of a bit of, because everybody does something a little bit different, so it's nice to try and find what that is and try and do it as well. And I don't know how many I don't know, it's 20 plus teammates, I'm guessing. I don't know. Yeah, it's in 1 year there was like 10 of them, so I don't know how I ended up staying there because I wasn't doing a very good job at the time. So I don't know, like I think it's interesting. I think when you do find that situation where you work really well together, it's hard to give up that situation, but it keeps you on your toes. It's at this level there's a lot of talent, and it's been fun to work with all the teammates that I've been teamed up with. But I don't know. Bourdais likes to use that term a lot. He likes being on an island, I think.
Can you name all your teammates from that 04 season?
In order. I'm going to give me a few minutes.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we'll wrap it up. Scott, thank you very much.
Thank you.